Welcome, guys, to the Axios Fux podcast, the coolest, best podcast in the world.
Wow, dude, what an introduction. Coolest and
So,
best.
Today we have a topic. Did you want to start it off, Vasily?
Well, yeah, like about what it's going to pertain to.
Yeah, what we talked about.
Yeah. I mean, I made this, and it's going to kind of coincide with what we're talking about a little bit. I made this post the other day. I was sitting, and I was sitting at a house that's closing, or that just closed today, actually. And I saw these two dudes from Power, the solar company.
Okay.
Power Solar, and they were out in the pouring rain, knocking doors.
How do you know they were from Power?
I saw it on their jacket, and one of them I think was wearing cargo shorts, like completely unprepared, absolutely miserable.
Well,
I could tell.
So you gotta wear those knocking shorts.
There was one guy who's leading it. The other person in the back was just.
He called them slave shorts.
Slave shorts.
Yeah. Because ultimately, when you like at the doors, you're a slave to the doors.
You are.
Every day, that's your only way of making money. You're a slave to the doors.
You know, I have to give it to him, though. I mean, well, number one, there was one guy leading the pack, and then there was just always that second person behind them that was mad awkward. Like, I could just see his shoulders showed complete regret of what he was doing.
Shadowing. He was probably shadowing.
He was just miserable. So anyways, to get to my point was the fact that people nowadays, they're so concerned with becoming or creating their own business, and they feel more comfortable with a 9-to-5. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Feel so comfortable with the 9-to-5. I can agree that it's probably a little bit more certain in current circumstances when things are good that you're going to make money because you have a job to go to every day. You're going to show up. You're going to get paid. You get this paycheck every 2 weeks, bi-weekly or weekly, right? But then it made me think, when you're in a time that we're going to right now, believe it or not, that's going to be a little uncertain, right? You still can get fired. You can get laid off. You're still going to get laid off. So you're leaving the dollars or the money you're going to earn in someone else's hands, an employer.
Oh yeah.
So really, what is the difference? Maybe in a good economy, maybe it's a little bit different, but in a bad economy, what is the difference between someone being a 1099 and someone being employed and potentially risking their job by getting laid off? What is the difference?
There's no difference.
There's no difference. They maybe just realize it because everyone's so uncertain. They're like, no, I can't get into this business because, you know, I don't know if I can make money for myself. But I'm thinking, dude, you might never be able to get a job. Like, I had someone tell me they got a philosophy degree.
That's actually hilarious.
Like,
you could literally get a philosophy book on Audible and probably be just as adequate. By the way, philosophy is all literally theory. So, I mean, I mean, and it's coming from somebody who literally loves philosophy. But
I love that stuff too. But dude, I didn't go to school.
Philosophy at Harvard.
Oh, you did? Yeah, you had the summer program. But the moral of the story is the fact that people think it's so certain, their job is so certain. I had a couple of people. I have one specific hater that just always covertly tries to attack. I'm not gonna name names.
He always tries.
No, that's a different person. No, no, that's a different person. That was just a rando. But someone that is always, you know, who throws admiration and then also pulls it back. So we'll just we'll disagree.
Those are the most dangerous.
This is so dangerous. They'll disagree and then
because we've spotted it so much, like it's actually funny.
I hate it so much. I find
it hilarious.
I find it funny, dude.
Seriously. I only take it seriously when, like, I feel like somebody, like, when somebody I just don't like when people talk to other people behind my back. If people talk to my face or message me hate, I don't care at all. Like, I'll take that. But if somebody's talking to somebody else and it's like some inside joke, that's when I'm like, dude, you are literally a worm.
Well, I found it weird because if you have to explain yourself, then you're wrong. Okay. This person would disagree with me and then give me a three-page essay of why I'm wrong. You were wrong. if you reply. If someone like him is to do that, and if I was to reply, then I'm wrong. But I just let him be wrong. He know because of this or that or blah, 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 trying to explain himself. You've already lost, okay? But moral of the story is the fact that there is no difference. And what you're going to get into is the fact that me and you are not employable. We're not employable people. If we had to be employed or we would die, if there's no such thing as doing your own thing, we would be dead on the side of the road.
I just thought of something. I remember, like even growing
and
up.
Wait, before that, if you're someone like that, or you feel like you're not employable, or you hate your job, this is pretty normal for certain people. It's just the fact that you confront it and you admit that, like, dude, that's not for you and you're not doing it. Because if you just push yourself every day to go to a job you can't agree with, you're going to be miserable.
Oh yeah. Eventually you're going to have to do your own thing if that just keeps happening.
Yeah.
So obviously me and Vasily, we both are subcontractors, also known as, entrepreneurs, because we have to go out and find our own business. If we don't find business, we don't get paid, right? So that's ultimately, if you're an entrepreneur, to me, it would mean you're selling either a product or a service on your own. You are the product, or you have the service, or you own a product they're going to sell. You have to find your own business and you have to transact on it. And you do everything from point A to point Z. You don't have a marketing department. You don't have, what is it called? Human resources, where if you say something to somebody else, there's not somebody going to come after you. You're probably just going to get a bad review and never have business again. So
I'll take my chances, man. I'll take my chances. I'll take my chances with a bad review than someone telling me I got to be somewhere at a certain time.
Yeah, I agree. And I thought about something that is I remember was really funny growing up to other people. I remember a couple different times, and it's funny because this has happened more than once, but I would be working at the restaurant and Dad would fire me. Like, most people thought that was the funniest thing, and I didn't understand why it was so funny, but like people would be like, how can your dad fire you from a job? Well, it can happen. It can happen.
You're so not willing to be told what to do.
Yeah, like you can be so unemployable to the point that even your father
would rather you be homeless. Would rather you be homeless than work for him. Would rather you be homeless.
So I just thought about that. I thought that was because I would say it with a straight face. Oh no, I got fired from my last job. Oh, what was your last job? Oh, I was working at my dad's restaurant. What? Did your dad fire you? Oh yeah, my dad. He just fired me. What? And they would think that's hilarious, but like, no, it's true. Like, I have this thing where every single job I was mediocre at best.
Dude, the difference, maybe I'm wrong, but the difference between me and you is the fact that I would leave before they could fire me. I would leave and just stop showing up. I've had all my jobs.
I've done that too.
I've never been fired. I've always just left without notice.
But you've also held in there a little longer than me, usually.
Yeah, so I mean, let's go through the jobs we had as kids. So I mean, I worked at the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
I worked at a local little pizza shop that I just was awful. Then I worked at Stop and Shop. Then I worked at a nursing home. Then I worked at there's one other in there, and this was all within like a 2-year. No, I'm not even.
That would actually force you to do work and you couldn't get away with anything. They would drive me out even quicker than the ones that did. That allowed you some slack. That's why Amazon, I was able to.
Oh, Amazon too.
Chill in the bathroom for hours on end, and not get in trouble.
For me, it was just more like, okay.
My own ethics told me this is not okay.
I would use all my PTO as possible and then quit. That's how I would do it.
Most people wouldn't. First of all, most people wouldn't admit this.
No, I'm okay to admit it.
Most people wouldn't admit this because this is it. It just shows that it almost gives people like a bad perception. But the truth
So
is
disrespectful.
that
So disrespectful.
everyone at one point was an entrepreneur. Whether you were selling onions to the guy or trading onions for peaches back in the day, or selling, milk or cows or whatever it was, everyone was an entrepreneur. There was no monopolies because there were no cell phones, there were no internet, and there were none of that. So everyone used to be an entrepreneur. Now it's so common that people are, working for a company, but then the disengagement rate is like what, 80% of
Yeah,
the time
they're
that
working.
here.
It's like
And then people are confused as to why that's the case. It's like, maybe it's because you have no skin in the game. You're just getting a paycheck and you think it has to be like that. And I do believe, I really do believe that there does have to be, there's different, there's an entrepreneur, and a technician. That's what
Yeah.
book it talked about.
But it's phases, those phases, because I was a technician.
I don't think it's necessarily phases though, because I think
you can go through phases. You're not set. I'm saying you're not set to one thing, because I was not always an entrepreneur. I was an intrapreneur for a while. And
well,
then I'm like,
I'll tell you this, my perspective, but you can go first if you want.
No, I think that as you grow older, you go through certain things. You become a different person. So at first I was probably a technician, then I was an entrepreneur, and then now I'm growing into the fact of my own thing. I feel like I'm doing my own thing.
I see. Yeah, no, I think that can be true, obviously, because you're good.
I was an entrepreneur, dude. I was always like, oh, I'm good. I know how to show up every day and do the same things every single day and show stats. But I'm like, dude, I don't want to do this every day. Like, this is crazy,
Yeah.
So I was gonna make some other sort of point. This is a side note, completely random, but like, how you said about how everyone was an entrepreneur at one point, right?
I mean, I think to some extent, like,
yeah, just selling anything.
Yeah, but maybe even the person that was selling milk had an employee, like one person working for them. So there probably still were employees, but like,
yeah,
still you were responsible for more.
Yeah, so I mean, like you said, like entrepreneur, meaning like everyone at one point in their life was an entrepreneur, meaning like you said, selling onions, selling their shoes. Yeah. It's always an act of sales.
Like Holes. Remember Holes? Like they would trade peaches for onions.
Yeah. I think there's a couple of skills we haven't talked about. Maybe we can go into depth like one of the next ones, but it's like, dude, like the entrepreneur phase is like not meant to be beautiful. I can tell you, like at one point, learning how to maneuver, how to put debts on other credit cards to make payments is like something that like no one would know how to do unless you had to. Mm. So when you're really trying to get that when you're like really hoping for the next deal, looking for the next sale, and you have to maneuver or allocate money in different accounts and, kind of not cheat the system, but figure out how to do it. This is a skill that if you're not under pressure or ever been in that circumstance, you will not learn.
I think that's very technical though, I'll be honest.
What do you mean by technical?
I just think that can be technical. Knowing how to do that it sounds like a skill that is pretty technical.
I think though, like for you, for example, this is what I'm saying. Like, let's say you wanted to make rent. You went in your room and you found out how to get rent paid. You started selling your pots and pans. You started selling your shoes.
No one bought
make your pants.
No one bought the
pots. They're dirty. They were probably dirty pots. But like figuring out how to make payments and how to do this and that, unless you've been under the pressure of like having to move monies around or do like credit line increases or pulling cash advances from cards, like if you've never done that, like those are skills learned through very out of necessity and very uncomfortable situations. So if you have not done that, like for me, if I ever had to do that again, it wouldn't be a big deal. It's like nothing to me because I know how to do it, and you know how not to mess with your credit or anything like that. And it's through straight doing. But you can go about it. You were talking about something.
Yeah. So I was saying basically, I have a different perspective on the technician, entrepreneur. And this is what I would say. is that I think it's important to know all of the aspects of like your business, but at the same time, if I'm really good at, let's say, for example, I'm good at going to appointments and closing deals. I should never really stop that. I really shouldn't. You know, if I can replace myself, good, but I really shouldn't get out of that position because I would be better off hiring for maybe the other position. So for example, if somebody's a good technician and they're really good at, you know, fixing cars, or they're good at, let's say, coding. Coding is a better example. Let's say they're really good at coding. I don't think that person should go necessarily like become the person who works on ad stuff. The reason being, like, for their business. I think they should build a business because I think everyone should have a business ultimately. But if you are a technician, you're really good at coding, you start a business, but put somebody else in charge of like the expansion, and which would be the entrepreneur aspect, like getting into different locations, maybe starting a branch, maybe making partnerships, marketing stuff. I think it's good for the technician to know those things, but if they excel where it's the actual coding, I think they should do that for like
I see what you're saying.
amount of time. I think that you should really optimize on what you're good at. So for me, one thing that I'm not good at is the really menial tasks and the things like that, where it can help when you think big picture and you take big risks because you don't see the next year ahead. You don't see the next 6 months ahead. You see 5 years. You see things in like 2, 5, 10 years, maybe. You don't see things in 1 year, 1 month, 6 months, where maybe somebody who's more of like a technician, they're really good at, you know, the intricate details.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that when it comes to, you know, if you do want to own your own business, I think optimizing your strengths is number one, before, you know, trying to do anything else. Because,
well, you have people like Elon Musk. You think like Elon Musk, for example, he's not the one who's putting things together on the assembly line. He's not doing that.
Right.
He's not good at that. Like, he's best at being like the general overview, but there's probably people that are way smarter than he is. But he was, I don't know even if you call him smart enough, but he just knows he's not good at everything.
Yeah.
And he can see his weakness. And because he can see his weakness, he can figure out who's going to take command of part A, part B, part C, part D.
So know? I think what we should do is give everyone just one story each about your worst job experience, how you were the worst employee.
Okay, you want to go first? You want me to go first? Yours is really good.
So I had this job, it was in high school, or it was right after high school, right before college. And it was only for a few months, but it was a job bringing newspapers. Well, what's funny about the job, it was this platform where they just set you up with random jobs. But if the job likes you and you're a good worker, like, they will, they'll keep you. And then this platform, like, did their job well. They found a new recruit because they're just like a recruitment company.
Yeah.
So that recruitment company, I applied for getting notifications for these jobs. And one of them was a newspaper delivery boy for like 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. You had to deliver newspapers. It was good money. It was like $18 an hour at the time. And I was like, hell yeah. Like, I'll just not thinking that, hey, this is going to be my first overnight shift ever. So I get there. I start, you wrap the newspapers and you put them in your car because you have to have your own car. You fill up your car with a bunch of newspapers and you have a route. And they give you the route. You have to go to the area, the neighborhood, and you deliver the newspapers. Now, the first day, I was like, this is awesome. This is sick. But probably 3 hours into that shift, I realized how difficult it was. You had to look at your phone. You had to drive. You had to throw the newspaper, make sure it hits there.
It sounds miserable. It just sounds absolutely miserable.
You can't really see the numbers on the house. So you're like hoping. But then you're like, oh man, like, if I'm going to go hard on this, like, I have to really make sure. You have to get out of the car sometimes. So what I realized is that this
You
was
didn't
just
want to
like,
do this.
I didn't want to do it. This was too over my head. So I wanted money, but like I wanted money without having to do much work. So basically what I did that night is I took the newspapers and I would start throwing them out. I would roll down both of the windows in the minivan that I was driving, and out of each side I would just go like this while
Oh my
playing.
gosh.
And then after like about an hour of doing that, I was like, I look back in the trunk and there was just so many. So I would be like, this is gonna take forever. Like not understanding that, yeah, that's a job. Like you need 6 hours of doing that. And I was like, well, how can we cut this in half? So I keep going, keep going, keep going. And then I ended up actually just going home and bringing all the remaining newspapers to the house. And the next day, they had me work again, and it was good. The manager, he didn't say anything. But I noticed that when I pulled up, I was scared because there were so many newspapers in the back of the trunk, and I was still stuffing more. So people could have noticed, hey, he didn't finish his route from yesterday. This was yesterday's newspaper. Now we have today's newspaper.
See, dude, what you could have done if you were thinking really smart at this point, or if you were thinking a little bit more entrepreneur, if you were getting them, if they're typically, let's say a quarter, or let's say they were 50 cents per, I would have started selling them for 25 cents.
That would have been smart. That would have been smart. Or sell them to like a 7-Eleven for bulk. I'll bring you newspapers every day.
That's actually sick. Yeah, that's such a sick thing to do.
I'll sell you this whole van of newspapers for $50.
Yeah.
So anyways, what happened is, so that scared me a little bit, but I went out that second night, same thing, stacked up so many newspapers at this point. They were just like seeping out of all of the crevices in my car, just newspapers. So what I ended up doing, ultimately, long story short, is after about an hour or two of just throwing them randomly at houses, and multiple, there would probably be like 3 on somebody's driveway and like 1 on like the person that didn't even order one's driveway. So what happened is I ended up being like, okay, I'm going to go, and I was in Hull at the time. That was where my route was usually. And I was like, I need to find a trash to dispose of these old ones. And then I got an idea when I was backed into like the big green trash bin that I would just throw them all out because I was tired. And then the next day, the manager, he came up to me and he was like, hey, Christian, like, you know, we got a lot of complaints. People weren't receiving their newspapers. Do you know anything about this? And I told them, hey, no, that sounds really weird. Like, I know I got the right house. Maybe I threw it at the wrong one.
Meanwhile, no one got them.
No one got them. Same thing the next day. Same thing the next day. Same thing the next day. Every day I got accused of not delivering them. And every day I would tell them, that is very strange, sir.
So did you get fired? Did you get fired from this or no?
I knew that something was coming, and so I stopped going. I knew something was coming, so I
don't feel like I'm getting treated right. This is what I would have said. I don't feel like I'm getting treated right.
I felt the tension, and I felt like I was gonna have a conversation, so I decided they were treating me right. So that's my story.
Okay, dude. Well, that was honestly, I don't know if I can top that. So I thought this entire time. Let's do some ending thoughts. Cool. I'm thinking, Christian, I might come down to Tampa. I'm looking at tickets right now. I was looking at tickets.
For Friday, right?
Yeah, for Friday. They're really not that bad.
How much are they?
Like $379.
Honestly, you should.
It's not
100%.
bad. It's not bad. So, but let's wrap it up. I mean, last thoughts, then we can get this thing uploaded.
Cool. Yeah, what I would say is, I don't know. Do you have any last thoughts?
No, I just think that.
Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate you guys watching. This is episode 25. That means we've been doing this for over 6 months. That's crazy. this podcast over 6 months. Now that interests me in listening to the beginning ones again. Because
sure.
goddamn, I know my life was way different 6 months ago.
6 months ago. I remember 6 months ago. I remember the first one. I remember where you were sitting. I remember. You were wearing
That's
your
crazy.
M4 hat. You were wearing your M4 hat, I think. One of the first ones.
Crazy. I'm gonna have to listen to this. But that's all I have. Thanks for watching, guys.
Okay, dude. I will see you guys later. See you later.
Okay, peace.
Bye.